All right, y'all. Welcome to another segment of. We got a very special guest. We have my guy, Michael Connors, commissioner for the Middle School Basketball League here in New York City. He's been kind enough to join us. The league, I know he'll probably give you like a brief thing about the league, but I know it's been running forever. When I had reached out, he was so kind to return my phone call to give me all the information to make sure the school I'm currently at was set up. You know, anything I've needed, he's picked up the phone. So there's nothing but love from me to Mike. I really appreciate you coming on right now. What we've been discussing is just a topic of the difference between being toxic and being competitive in that fine lines. You know, I wanted to get your expertise as a coach, as a commissioner, you know, all these years. What are some stories you've seen and what is your take on that topic?
Well, I thank you, Cameron, for inviting me, and I want to thank your school and all the folks in your community for reaching out to us and being part of our league, which, as you said, has been around for quite some time. This is our 22nd season coming up. This is our 22nd year. We, as the New York City Middle School Basketball League, have continued to flourish throughout that time. It was at one point the Bronx Middle School Basketball League, where there were only 4 to 6 teams, and we've gone from 4 to 6 teams all the way to almost 400 teams this coming year. And who knows, after the pandemic, I'm sure the kids will be itching to play. So we could break that 400 team barrier. We're servicing over 7,500 kids. It's throughout all 5 boroughs. And disappointingly, we had to cancel our season last March of 2020. And it was right before the Brooklyn finals. We did get the Manhattan finals in, but we didn't get any of the other boroughs in, and we weren't able to complete the full season and crown a New York City champion. But, you know, getting back to, for all the kids that are out there that, you know, are missing basketball, I totally feel your pain. I am itching to get back as much as you are. Even though it's a lot of work for Coach Cameron and I, and for all the folks that you know, do the coaching in the actual gyms and running the admin side of this, it is a lot of work, but there is a tremendous joy in it as well. And when I go to an all-star game, or when we put championship games on, and I see the faces of our children ecstatic to be part of a championship Saturday, it makes it all worthwhile. But yeah, listen, this is a very important topic, Cameron. And I do have a bunch of stories, and we could go on for an hour or two with some of the craziness that has happened in 22 years. There is a fine line between, you know, a coach becoming toxic and just being competitive. I always try to, at coaches' meetings, impart some of my knowledge and experience, and hopefully a little bit of wisdom to coaches to get across to them the simple idea that the basketball league and running basketball teams in your school, or even at an AAU level, there has to be a bigger purpose. There has to be a bigger reason than just playing basketball, which is we're trying to motivate young people, obviously at a school level, to, you know, motivate people to get better grades and to obviously behave so that they can be part of the team. Because, you know, character and good grades are a big, big part of what we do as a league. And sometimes coaches, sadly, they lose sight of that. They have a top guard or maybe a dominating center, and they say, you know what, I know he's failing, but I'm going to twist some arms of some teachers to get them to pass. You know, we're doing a disservice to the child as much as anything else. So sometimes, you know, competition is wonderful, and we all love to win. As a coach, it always felt better the night of a win instead of driving home the night of a loss, because as a competitor, and as a coach for almost 15 years of those 22, I had to finally step down as a coach because I just didn't have the time to coach. The league was too big. But as a competitor, I always told the kids, I will be sadder than you when we lose. I will be more angry than you when we lose. Yeah. So I am a fierce competitor. I hate to lose. But that being said, at the end of a game, I always made sure my kids did not blame anybody, including the referees, because that, as I'm sure you've heard, Cameron, in your years coaching, that's probably that's the quickest excuse. It's the referee screwed us.
Every game.
The referee did it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I always loved the saying, and I told this to my kids all the years I coached. You have to be humble in defeat, but you
Mm.
have to be even more humble in victory. We will celebrate when we get to the bus stop, but we're not going to celebrate in anyone else's gym. We will be humble.
Mhm.
And that always stood to me down to the years of my coaching. I never had any issues leaving gyms or having issues with other teams, because my kids, and all of that, to wrap it all up, all of that goes back to prep. At
Mhm.
the beginning of the season, when you get your 20 kids and that's your squad, you have a meeting with your squad, you have a meeting with your parents if you can, or you send something home so that everything is clear as regards, yeah, we're here to win and I want every kid to improve. But the goal of my program, the goal of our team is to make your kid, your child, a better person, a better
Mhm.
young lady, a better young man, to improve their basketball skills, because ultimately we are trying to get them ready so that they can try out for their freshman team in high school.
So, funny story, because of your wisdom and how you set up, the scheduling and the academic responsibilities of teams. One of my fondest memories of that is one of the teams had to forfeit against us. The kids came downstairs, get ready for the game. I said, guys, we're not playing today because the other team had to forfeit. So they're all jumping around, screaming and excited. And I'm like, what's up? We're not playing today. They said, coach, that means we were academically eligible and we got all our work done. Screaming at them and fussing at them was all worth it in that moment because they finally got it.
Right,
They
right,
finally got it and understood the importance of getting their work done, being
right.
prepared. So it's like, hey, we got to win because we did what we needed to do.
It pays off, right? It
It
pays
pays
off.
off.
No. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that story because you texted me or we talked after it.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're having a tough season, you'll take a win any way
Take
you
a
can.
take a win any way we can. Can you just give like a brief story? I know you got tons. Can you give like a brief
Yeah.
story when
Listen,
one's gotten
listen,
toxic? Yeah.
one other thing that I would mention is, as
Yeah.
part of our league, and this is something maybe for parents
Mhm.
and for kids as well, because listen, it's competitive. It's a competitive league. At the end of the season, in every borough, we crown a champion and we hand out a fantastic looking cup to every team. Kids get individual trophies. So it is competitive. I don't believe in the whole idea of every kid gets a trophy. What knocks you down makes you stronger, and when you fail, it only encourages you to try harder and work harder. And the thing is, I always told my kids, even after, especially after a loss, as long as you worked your butts off, as long as you gave me your 100%, you're never a loser to me.
Mhm.
You never lost a game. I don't care what the scoreline says. If you worked your butt off and you did everything that we could, because there's days when the ball just doesn't want to go into the hoop.
Yeah.
And we did everything. We prepped exactly the way we wanted to. One story of toxicity is, the 1 year that I was lucky enough to win one of these things, we won a Bronx championship back in 2012, which is it's almost 12 years ago now, but
So yeah.
10 years ago, I should say. But so I had a wonderful group, and I had an outstanding point guard, Baron Goodridge, who, thank God, was able to get a D1 scholarship. And he was a kid that, had multiple issues as regards, academics and truancy, et cetera, et cetera. All of the things that
Mhm.
you hate to see in a child in middle school. But he had all of them. And thank God, he had a talent. And we were able to use that talent to get him to graduate. And he went on to play at Cardinal Hayes, I'm sorry,
Cardinal Hayes. Uh-huh.
and won 2 city championships with Cardinal Hayes. So anyway, we had a great team, and went 10-0 in the regular season. And I was always mindful that now I was on on the winning side of a lot of these games, obviously. And we had, as I said to you before, we had prepped our kids and our parents.
Mhm.
But there's always one parent, and there's always one parent that just can't understand. And her son was what I would call my third string guard, and he unfortunately was a turnover machine, and which is one of the reasons why he was a third string guard.
Mhm.
He was a seventh grader, so he was learning, so it was fine. We were in the semifinal of the Bronx. All of my kids, because we most games had large leads at halftime, somewhere in the like 18 to 20 point lead. I had always plenty of time for all of my second and third stringers, so they
Mhm.
all got to play a lot of minutes that year. because we did have a strong squad. So long story short, the night before the semifinal game, reached out to all of the parents, all of the kids, and I let them know that the rotation tomorrow was going to, that was obviously the day of the game was going to be short. I was going to have 7 or 8 kids were going to get to play, unless we had injuries or kids got in foul trouble. But
championship game.
Yeah. It's a big game, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? This could be a historic thing to get into a final. Forget about winning. I wasn't even thinking about winning. I was just trying to get to a final. So anyway, long story short, the half came and we were up by a couple of points. We went into the locker room and I saw one of my moms that was, a little chatty across from me. She's directly across, and she was a little upset throughout the first 2 quarters that her son hadn't gotten in. This was my third string guard. And I mentioned it to him at halftime. Did mom get my email? And he said, yes, she got the email. Did she understand the email? Yes, she understood the email.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll just let it go. Maybe she's just being chatty. So third quarter came and we were up by a couple of points, still a close game. And I looked across and the mom that I caught my eye earlier in the game, she had left. And I figured she had left. She had gone home. She was upset. Her son hadn't played. To my surprise, about 30 seconds later, I turn around and she's directly behind me.
Oh.
And mom now goes into a barrage of 4-letter words and how I am the worst coach ever and how come I can't play. Unfortunately for her, I get it. I'm a parent too. I'm a grandparent. We all want our kids to play. She saw her son play many, many times for long periods of time, but she wanted her son in that moment to be in the game. And I had to obviously make an executive decision as a coach that, we're all here together for the group, not for one individual. And, she was removed by safety. We had to call a timeout. And we went on to win the game and win the final, which was the happy news. And her son did quit the team, which was sad. And the ironic part of that was the week after we won, when the trophies were handed out, mom showed up looking for a trophy for her son, which I ended up giving to her because it wasn't about her. It wasn't about me. It was about the son. And I'm sure that the mom had pressured him to quit, which was sad for him. But so the toxicity, it exists not just in coaches, Cameron, but it exists in with a lot of our parents too, unfortunately. And when I say a lot, I mean a small number, not a lot. 95% of our parents are awesome. They come to the game, they cheer on their child or their kids. They appreciate what we're doing. One thing that I would add was we did add a mercy rule a number of years ago as regards running up the score. And, we had folks in different boroughs that they seem to forget that this is junior high school basketball and they thought it was the NBA and they started running up the score. So we had to unfortunately put in a mercy rule, and thankfully lots of coaches have used that to, advance the game. And, if a team is down by a lot at halftime, they can start the clock running in the third quarter and end the misery for the team that's losing, because it tends to lead to problems.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this. The last year we played, it really tested my coaching skills and my patience, because for some reason, when I told my guys to simmer back, they turned it all the way off.
Right.
And then that 18-point lead turned into 6. And wow. I'm drawing on the board and I'm not supposed to. And they thought and they thought it was funny. I was a mess. I'm like, you guys are stressing me out. Sorry, coach, we're so sorry, but you told us to chill. We chill, I'm like, oh, so thanks for testing my coaching skills. I appreciate the rule. I know why the rule's in place, but it wasn't in place to test if I'm a good coach or not.
Right. But my rule, Cameron, was always when I'm up by 20, that's when the first string comes out. First string comes out, second string, you got to maintain. If you can keep it above 15, you're going to stay in. Yeah. If you can't, you're coming out.
It's funny. That rule actually helped me to see what my other players could do.
Absolutely.
Because towards the end of the season, I had one guy who was out for 2 games, my best scorer, but I trusted who was on my bench.
Right.
It was platoon. Those guys got that experience, knew what it felt like. So then instead of saying I only have 7 or 8 players, I got 9 or 10. 9 or 10,
which when you're trying to win in playoff time, it's huge. It's huge because kids get in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Kids get sick. They can't come to school that day, and you're stuck. You're missing a 2 guard or a small forward.
Right.
So I hear you. It definitely
kids can't stop yelling in humanities. The period before the game starts. Mike, thanks for coming on, sharing some of your wisdom
Not at all,
and your
not at all.
stories. Like to do a flower segment. Your efforts and your work, 22 years, helping out inner city kids who, somebody like me, who without basketball, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I know the work you do, and it is greatly appreciated. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to say thank you.
Thank you, thank you, and you really appreciate it. You know, I hear it all the time from the coaches, and because I know the impact it has in schools.
Mhm.
You know, if you have 2 or 3 teams, that's 40 to 60 kids that are hooked in, that have another reason to come to school. You know, and then if you have 25, 30 cheerleaders, that's another. You're talking almost 100 kids now are motivated to come to school every day, not just for the regular reasons. And you know, I know for me as personally that, you know, sports got me through school. Without it, God only knows where I'd be. But I do appreciate you know, all that love, and right back at you, because you guys are in the front line.
Yeah.
You're in the trenches. You're doing the day to day heavy lifting. So I'm on your shoulders. Believe me. I appreciate all of my coaches, because without you guys, we don't have a league. So thank you, Cameron, and big shout out to your merger. You know, I wish you guys the best. Of course, you're going to be competing probably for trophies this year, God willing, and you know,
Yeah.
and have winning seasons, and good luck with everything at your school.
Thank you. That's a wrap. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and other streaming platforms.